Welcome to day number 35 of ZenMadman's Nutty Pot Limit Omaha journey. Here we are at the end of week 5. How many weeks am I going to do this? I don't know. I'm going to keep streaming and I'm going to keep playing Pot Limit Omaha, and it's going to continue to be a nutty journey. But how long am I going to do this exact same format? I have not decided. I had some thoughts. I still have some thoughts. There's a lot of different thoughts. For now, though, I have, a hand that can make a bunch of straights pre-flop. On this flop, I can't make any straights. I can't make any flushes. I can, hope to spike a king on the river. So that's a pretty straightforward check fold there. Not much going on. Oh, could I have made a straight? This is, I think, yeah, what am I talking about? I think I had a jack-9, right? I could have made a straight. But, wasn't holding out hope for a gut shot straight draw on a paired flush board. It's not how we get the monies. All right, so here we are live, but not live, because we're on Twitch and we're on YouTube. And on Twitch, we're on a 3-minute delay. And on YouTube, we're on a question mark minute delay because, well, at least 2 weeks, because I have these scheduled 2 weeks out, which probably isn't the best way to build a YouTube channel either. But the purpose of this particular stream is not primarily as a, content creator growth scheme. It was originally just kind of give myself something to do to keep myself honest, to every single day play a session, focusing on the session, and do a session review. And it's worked in that regard. I've also found some PLO friends and had some not so PLO friends stop by. The 4 dangler, I think, is going to make this unplayable. If it was a 5, I would definitely be happy to play it. I think the 4 is just a little too weak. If you make the 8 a 7, then maybe even that becomes more playable, because then the 4 is not irrelevant. I'm not sure. But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun so far. And if you're on YouTube, you can like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, you can follow and subscribe. And I'm still, working on kind of building the sort of content creation angle. Right now, it's, I've watched a fair number of streams and YouTube videos, and this one we're going to focus on, and then we'll get back to that. I will pot it because while I'm not suited to the ace, the 4-5 are the 2 best wheel cards I can get, and I think I'm going to raise some wheel hands, and if I do, it's going to be this one. Ace-king. We raise a lot of ace-king, and while wheel cards are generally poor, the 4 and the 5, as I said, are the better ones. I flop a wrap. A 4 or a 5 will not give me the nuts. An ace and a 6 will. I'm going to check. I have no diamond blockers, no diamond draw, of course, and no pairs. Now a jack comes. There's 2 flush draws on board. I think this is the type of draw to easily get overly excited about. Like, oh, I have a wrap. Like, not all wraps are the same. I would reference wrappers, but I'm first of all, I don't want to create that kind of controversy, and second of all, I maybe don't have the level of familiarity with to come up with a really good references. So, yeah. But yeah, some wraps leave something to be desired. And of course, having a flush draw on board makes it much worse. Did we see what happened there? Somebody just bet the river and won. So the deuce came on the river, pairing the board. So none of the draws got there. Wouldn't be a bad spot to bluff with any whiff draw that doesn't block too many of the draws that potentially got called by. That's always the tricky thing about bluffing with draws in Omaha, is when you have a draw, your opponent doesn't have that draw, so they can't fold that draw, or draws that contain those cards. So doesn't mean you shouldn't bluff, but it means, to be aware of the blockers. That's something I've definitely improved in over this journey. Yeah, so it's been fun, and I'm going to continue streaming. I'm going to continue playing Pot Limit Omaha. I'm going to continue reviewing hands every day, but I might change my hours around a little bit. I guess before, no, we'll get to that later. So here, I would have flopped a wrap, right? The turn would have given me a better wrap because now a 6 would have given me the nuts as well. An 8 and a king both were the nuts, but here, when the 10 comes, my jack 8, yes, makes a straight, but it's not the nut straight. And really, we just always want to be aware of how, whether we have the nuts and how many outs we have to the nuts, if we're drawing to the nuts. If we're not drawing to the nuts, then, we're not going to be able to get paid the same on later streets. Like, this person looks like they could have, like, a jack 8 or an 8-6 or a, I don't know, 2-pair or a set. Or they're just, like, trying to beg for a call with king jack. Now, this other player's like, I've got king jack. I have the nuts, right? And they're just like, let's go. Let's put it all in. And the loose player, I think this bet size suggests that they might fold a lot to a raise. But if they did have a jack 8, I would not expect this particular player, who's played 100% of their hands thus far, to find a fold. So my guess is that they had something much weaker. And in the position of the button, I'm often just like, oh, I can bet this much, and I have the nuts. But I think sometimes there's some merit to choosing a smaller bet size that is not correlated with our hand strength, but with the hands that we're trying to get called by. Ace 9 8 6 is pretty trashy. However, we have multiple people who've put their chips in blind. We have a player who's essentially put their chips in blind because they've called every hand. And without the ace high, draw, it's like, meh. But I do think the straightening qualities, one suit, I don't know. I should probably have folded this, to be honest. Like, given a moment of self-reflection. What's today? Sunday. Happy weekend to everyone. Player on the right decides to basically put the chips in. And they're going to have a few bucks left, but not anymore. So, okay, a set versus a combo draw. The set only had 60% equity there, even though it had a gut shot and a blocker to the flush draw. So that's just a reminder that, yeah, when we flop a set and we think it's the best set, we should often get it in. But we're not usually getting it in with quite the equity we would in No Limit Hold'em, right? In Hold'em, when we have a set, we're just crushing. Whereas in Omaha, we're usually ahead, right? I mean, it's actually possible for people to have draws that are ahead of a set. So that can be, we don't always just want to get it in with any set all the time. I think I was originally thinking of saying something a little more coherent in terms of like, oh, this is the end of week 5, blah, blah, blah. But like, whatever. It's day 35. Every day's the same. Sunday doesn't mean anything different than Monday. For me, for a lot of people, I know it's very different. I have deliberately chosen not that life. So if it is, though, if it is very different for you, if it's a nice day, then I'm very happy for you, right? If this is your day of chill or whatever else. I flop a very bad flush. And the thing that makes this 10 high flush particularly bad is I'm blocking the 9, the 8, the 4, and the 5 are on the board, and the 7-6 makes a straight flush. So it's really hard for me to flush over flush someone here, and as a result, I just decided to check it back. I'm going to continue checking, and maybe put a bet in on the river, like a small one, though. Like, let's bet 240. I don't know. This is a weird spot where I have a hand that I'm pretty confident is the best at this point, but you know what? I don't know. Run that back. I flopped a 10 high flush. Not a lot of flushes that I beat. There's the ace, the king, the queen, the jack, and the straight flush. When the board paired on the turn, it would be reasonable for them to check the jack, the queen, the king, the ace high flush. So I like my river bet even less than I would have if the board hadn't paired on the turn, right? I think trying to go for a little bit of value on the river makes sense with a weak flush. If it goes check, 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 then like, yeah, let's bet. But in that spot, I don't know. I think that was overzealous. Like, what am I getting called by? I don't know, maybe a straight, let this player figure it out. Who knows? I don't think it's terrible because I think my hand is very, very No, it's just very often good. It's not very, very often good because, again, they can check those bigger flushes when the board pairs on the turn. Maybe they bet them on the river sometimes, for sure. Like ace high. I think they bet sometimes on the river, especially if they have some like pair blocking business. All right. Now this person's betting this tiny, like $3 into 18. They're going to be able to jam turn if they want to. So what should they be betting with this size? Well, on a fundamental level, probably nothing. But, you know, in terms of what would be sort of somewhat reasonable, maybe a good exploitative play, something that just has the board absolutely crushed, or some kind of a bluff that's just like, hey, you all can fold, like having a lot of blockers, but maybe not a good draw. I would not be surprised to see them jam here a fair amount. However, the straight did get there, and if they flopped something like, Jack 10 10 9, so top set and an open ender, and like maybe flop, hearts to go with it. I could see that being a hand that they wanted to check back, although they probably just stuff it in anyway. Let's see what they turn up with. BuffyBot says, "Good morning." Good morning, BuffyBot. Welcome to the chat. I hope people feel comfortable asking questions about hands. There is a 3-minute delay, so mostly what I'll do is if there's a question about a hand, I will mark that hand and then put it into the session review. And thanks to Chris Co for the follow. I haven't watched a lot of their stream, but it's a poker stream. Yesterday I basically went around and I was just like, I'm just gonna follow a bunch of poker streams so that at the end of my stream when I want to raid people, or if I just want to go on Twitch and check out some poker streams, like I'll already have followed them. And so thanks for the follow, and I look forward to checking out your stream. Speaking of streams, tonight the Ethical Panda is streaming a podcast episode on the ethics of Loki, the first 3 episodes, so the midway point in this odd series. I'm going to be a guest on that. That is at 6 p.m. Pacific time, so 8 p.m. Panda time. As it's a very central podcasting network, but 9 p.m. Eastern, and at very late in Europe, and I guess very early in China. What was that, 9 hours? It's like 9 a.m. I think China time. So I think a funny trivia question is like, what country has the most time zones? And people usually get it wrong. And the hilarious part is that people often say China because China is large. But as far as I know, China only has one time zone. It's all on one time zone. So the sun rises and sets at very different times in different parts of the country. I think Russia might be a better guess in terms of having more time zones, but I'm not sure. But the answer for all you trivia files is France. Because colonialism, I guess, imperialism, because there's still a lot of little territories that are part of France. Okay, let's enough trivia. Top pair, top kicker, nut flush draw, pretty good. Pot size bet, okay. From this person, what do we know about this person? Unfortunately, I've been yapping and I haven't paid too much attention to what they've been doing. It looks like they bought in for 100 and then they've kind of bled off a few chips. I'm definitely going to call this. I don't see much merit in raising. Like, let them come in behind, drawing dead with whatever, or drawing against this person's equity. I don't think my ace-king is good that often already, but I think my nuts are good. King 7 of hearts. The 7 of hearts is cool too because it's like blocking the straight flush draw. So basically the board needs to pair for me to not have the nuts on the river. And this player, I think, is going to call with a set. If they call, I think I'm in very bad shape if the board pairs. However, I still have the nuts, so I'd say I'm in good shape. And how much? I'm just going to pot it, and like I could do this with a king, Mostly, I'm just gonna have the nuts here. That's basically what I'm gonna have. Mostly, I want to get called by this $26 person who's, well, not that they're a $26 person, by this person with $26 who has a queen or a jack or a 10 high flush or something. And the other player probably had a set or 2 pair. Yeah, they have a queen high flush. because of course they do, right? That was the thing that they would have, and that's why I don't like drawing to the second nuts in a multi-weight pot, because stuff like that's going to happen. That wasn't entirely some big coincidence. I think they rebought. Okay, and that's not to be overly harsh on this person's play. They had a pretty good hand pre-flop, right? Yeah, king, queen, jack, 4, double suited. I mean, you could raise that up, right? They could raise that up, I believe. So, this is a good flop for my range. 3 ways I'm not going to be betting range here, so I'm going to check. I really don't have anything. I have a blocker to spades, and I have a runner Broadway draw, and that's it. So we just check fold. Easy peasy. Family Jewel says, Loki has been awesome so far. I am glad you're enjoying it. No spoilers in this chat. There will be in the Ethical Pandas at 6 p.m. East Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, we already did the whole time zone dance, right? And I have very mixed feelings on the series so far, but I think the interactions between Loki and like basically every other character have been amazing. So I think that the dialogue and the dynamics are really fantastic. The first episode I described as feeling like I felt like I was waiting at the DMV, but with like really good company, where I was like, why are we here? But like, hey, at least there's good conversation. Second episode I enjoyed a lot more beyond the conversation, and then the third episode was was very fun. So we shall see where that series heads. Jack 10 8. I'm gonna pop it. Single suited. I'm not sure. Yeah, I probably open this in the... This might be a little loose. I'm not sure. I'll mark this one. Again, any hands that people... Oh. Okay. So, I have middle set, and there's a straight on board. I'm not going to bet a ton with a straight on board when I don't have the straight. I do have the blocker, though. Right? I do have that 10, so it's hard for somebody to have the straight. And I have 2 opponents who are short. So at this lower SPR, I'm much happier to bet against them. Now, somewhere in my head, I have like, oh, you're supposed to bet third pot on, let's bet 8.25. Yeah, on straight boards. Okay, that's cool. Without really understanding that or knowing exactly what's going on with that, I'm not going to let it run my approach here. I need to look more into good bet sizing. The reason I didn't bet exactly half pot was because the player on my right had less than double that. So what I wanted to do is bet an amount that if I bet and it goes call, and then that player raised, if I wanted, I could jam over the top. Now with my hand, I wasn't going to do that. But they don't know that. So I want the player ahead of me, directly across from me, who's the only one with the deep stack, to know that if I got raised by the player on my right, if they jammed, that I could come back over the top. So if they had a hand like ace, king 10, or just like king 10, queen, something like that, right, they were going to have a much harder time calling and then getting a free, not a free turn, but like a reasonably priced turn. Okay, pre-flop, I wanted to check that out. And I'll mark that for review as well. Yeah. I kind of now, like, my brain's thinking about Loki and wants to talk about various things. But in my poker streams, I'm gonna try pretty hard to focus on the poker. As I said before, the Ethical Panda, we're doing a podcast live on Twitch tonight on Loki, but also they like to stream PLO100, and they're learning the game. I'm working with them on it, and I mean not learning the game like they know the rules, right? But learning a more effective strategy, learning how to beat the game, which is a process. And they like to stream. I think it's, was it 11 a.m. my time, right? 11 a.m. Pacific. and play PLO10 and then talk about different things. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Tuesday or Thursday, those are the days, they're talking about Loki a little bit more. And actually, after the podcast, they're going to play some PLO, and we're just going to talk more about it. So always spoilers potential there. But here, the only spoilers are that the games are good. Spoiler alert, the games are good. Just perpetually good. Sometimes like there's this poker player thing in me that's like, I don't want to leave a good game. But like these games are so good so often. Like there's just people who like to play in this game PLO100 on Ignition and gamble. And that's cool, you know. I mean, as long as they're gambling within their means, I'm happy for them, and I'm happy to create an environment where, you know, we can get it in and run it out. And I have 55% equity and they have 45, and like, let's do that all day. It's fun. The thing about PLO is I found it. All right. Um. All right, maybe that's not fun. That wasn't very fun. Maybe I should call if I'm trying to be fun. I'm not really trying to be fun that much. Being suited to the 7 and the jack as opposed to the 10 and the jack was part of the thing here. Part of it also was that one of the two players in is very short stacked, and so I don't feel like I have a lot of implied odds. Another thing is that these kind of weaker double suited hands play worse multi-way because the flushes they make just have less value than they do heads up, right? Because it's more likely somebody has a larger flush, whereas heads up, a 7 high flush has a better chance of winning. Having said that, we were going to have a very low SPR, and you know, I could have probably gotten it in with a lot of things pretty easily. So they flop the nuts and end up making a boat. I would have actually turned. Would I have turned the nuts? I think I would. No. Did they? All right, whatever. I fold. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean the games are just they're very good here. So leaving a game and come back later and the game's very good. I don't know how many hours a day they run, but it seems like, I mean, I wake up pretty early for me, and the games are running, and I check in at like midnight or 1 or 2, and the games are running. So it seems like there's a lot of hours. Maybe if you want to be playing from like 2 a.m. till 7 a.m. Pacific, you're not going to have as much in the way of action. But if I were going to play that, that would be the time that I would maybe play live, actually. But not really into live right now. I find online is a much better format for me to find ways to improve. Just tracking hands is so powerful. Oh, I have a book. I have a book for writing down live hands that my wife made for me and is theoretically available somewhere for sale. I gotta get her to make that soft cover. Hands book, and yeah, and then I'll put a link somewhere when that's a thing. Right now it's hardcover, which is actually really nice. It's nice quality, but it's a little pricey. All right, after this hand, let's focus more on the hands that I am folding as well. It feels like there have been a lot fewer hands that I'm really like thinking about. We've played 28 hands already. Is that right? It says no, 20, only 20. And I've only marked one, I think. Yeah, I've just marked that one. There's other ones that I could have marked, but they didn't seem super interesting. Sometimes you just don't get a lot of close spots. Also, in terms of pre-flop, there just aren't as many spots that feel close to me. I'm going to check this. Actually, that Jack's hand, right? I marked that one. That was the one. The 9-9. I'll mark that one other hand. The double suited 9s that I folded. It was 9-9-8-4 double suited. I will tag this for pre-flop. And here I have top pair, a decent kicker. They've full potted it. This is just a fold. There's all sorts of flushes they can have. They can have sets. I don't have a flush draw, right? That's the thing about these these monotone boards in PLO is it's very different in no limit. In no limit, you can flop a flush, you can flop a flush draw, or none of the above. In Pot Limit Omaha, you can flop a flush. It's no flush draw. Nobody's ever going to make a flush on the turn of the river in Omaha when the board is when the flop is monotone, right? You flop it or you don't. So yeah. I'm coining expressions and writing them down. For later use. For later use. You know, like when we have a hand that really, you know, there's like small two-pair hands where you just you need to flop it or drop it. That's you know, not that you shouldn't ever have bluffs there, but rarely. Now that I start taking notes, I'm just going to take tons of notes. It's going to be horrible. I'll stop. Okay, ace, jack, 10, deuce. The deuce is bad. I'm not suited to the ace. This is a fold, even with 3 Broadway cards and a suit. The hijack decides to raise. And the button comes along. Would be a pretty interesting hand for my flop for my hand. Where I have the wheel, which is the third not straight, not fantastic. This player leads out. I think they're supposed to do a lot of checking on a board like this. There's so many straights possible. My guess would be that they have a fair amount of ace deuce. They can have hands like 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, you know, with suits. Also, this player can have who knows what, right? I think it's important to think, okay, what should they be doing here in terms of like game theory? And then with a player like this to not spend too much time on that and spend more time thinking like, what do I think they actually are doing? What hands can they really have here? And, you know, they can probably have a lot more 6-7 than a lot of players. But yeah, if we're supposed to check a range on a board like that, which I'm not sure, that's an assumption or a hypothesis. But if, then we're still going to have some hands like, you know, king, king, 6-7, or like jack, 10, 7, 6 double suited, or like ace, king, 6-7 with a ace high suit maybe. And we can check raise those, and I think having some straights in our checking range when we're going to have a lot of other hands like ace, ace, king, king, hands that we're going to want some free cards, maybe some flush draws, is nice. This is probably not a hand to play. The 9s being unsuited and, you know, not queens or aces. And I think ace Broadway 9 is not great. Which, like, that seems like very vague, right? But because the 9 makes a queen high straight and can make a king high straight, but the king high straight, you already have an ace high straight. So there's like some kind of redundancy there that I think makes those nice. There's like some subtleties and some things that we can, I think, uncover about very particular combinations, as opposed to just how high are the cards, how connected are they, like how do they connect, exactly what straights can they make. And, you know, ace queen 9 makes 3 straights, whereas like, is ace jack 9 the same? No, ace jack makes 4 straights, right? Makes jack high, queen high, but the king high is not a thing. So yeah, ace queen 9 actually only makes 2 straights, really. All right, enough about that. The idea was to pay attention to the hands we're not in. Here, you know, okay, sure, you could full pot it. Nobody should have ace-ace. It doesn't mean they don't. We've got some very loose, very passive players at this table. One player over here, number 5, who seems to be trying to play well. Everybody else seems to be trying to play a lot of hands. Ace 9-9-6 with the suited ace and, you know, the 9s and the 6. I'm going to call. I think 3-betting is an option with a hand like this. However, this looks like a delightful hand to take a 3, 4, 5-way flop. I flop the nut flush draw. That's nice. I have an overpair, which is of, you know, maybe modest utility. If it checks to me, I think half potting seems in order. So they full potted it, which is like, really? I have 10 outs to the nuts, right? 8 spades besides the 3, 2 9s. I have a runner straight draw. I mean, I'm certainly not folding. Is this a hand that I want to just like, that is one of the best cards available Now, like, I hope they flopped a set of sevens, right? Like, that would be the bestest. And we're just going to put it in. They seem very excited about this hand. I'm excited about this hand. Maybe they picked up diamonds to go with whatever. If they fold, they fold. And they did pick up diamonds to go with whatever. They had tens. So, interesting. If the turn was a brick, I wonder how that hand would have played out. That would have been very interesting if the turn was a brick. And so maybe on the flop, all right, let's focus on this one for a second. The 9 and the 4 aren't very good, but I think ace king with like anything and a suited ace, just about I can play here. Family Jewels says, wish me luck, 3 left and Iggy 2K guaranteed. Oh, go, 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 go. Bink it one time. Okay. I just typed what I said because in case they're leaving the chat, I want to make sure that we give them that run good energy. Let's get back to this though. I thought bottom pair. Backdoor nut flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Seems like a check. 4 ways, right? That's an important thing. This is a decent hand, I think, to c-bet heads up. Not saying that that's necessarily correct, but I think it's reasonable. However, 4 ways, it's like, meh. Now a bunch of straights got there. Am I blocking into the straights? Nope. Let's check. If I had a blocker to the straight, I'd probably use this as a bluff. Oh, so full pot, not flush draw, out of position. Is this player going to just call a jam on the river? Let's see. 1, 2, I would need 3, 4, 5. I just don't feel like I'm getting the odds here. And they usually have a straight and aren't going to always call the river bet. So, I don't know. I'm just going to check fold the nut flush draw, which feels gross. That feels gross. And I'm pretty sure that a solver's like, dude, what are you doing? But, you know, solvers don't spend a lot of time playing 4 ways with players like these. So, we'll throw that one on the review pyre. And, you know, flame away, should you wish to, regarding my cowardly play of the nut flush draw. Again, though, no blockers. Not blocking any straights. A lot of straights that, you know, a 71 VPIP player can have there. And my pair with potential like aces up or kings up outs would be much more useful if there weren't such an obvious straight that I thought my opponent had so often. Right, ace king 4. I think the Razor was the player who checked just before that one. Pot size bet from the button. You know, as a pre-flop cold caller, like what are they going to have here? They can have king king a fair amount. They can have ace king. They can have some big draws. Their SPR is only 2 to 1, meaning there's only twice as much money in their stack before this bet as there was in the pot. So they've been able to put half their stack in on the flop, which is, you know, I don't know. It means they don't need as strong a hand, right? They just need to get it in with pretty decent equity. Okay, top pair, open-ended straight draw. And if we look at the SPR, it's like, you know, something teen to 1. I'm just going to bet here. Like, I don't have any redraws. I only have the basic straight, right? The king high straight. But I think my hand is good, and there's a lot of draws that they can kind of accidentally bet, you know, back into, that they can get there. I think I just limp this, over limp this. It's not a particularly strong ace high flush. You know, the king's nice. The king's definitely nice. And in this lineup, I think I will call the raise now. And let's have that other flop again. No, okay, this is fine. This is fine. I have nut flush draw, and I have a gut shot. So, and now I have the nut flush, but I'm blocking the second nut flush, which is annoying. It's hard to think anybody really has anything that much, but I am going to... How much do I want to bet? If I bet this... Yeah, now I can jam on the in position player on the river if they call this. Family Jewel says, took it down. Nice. Congratulations. Winning tournaments is fun. I'm not a big tournament player. I find the parts before the end, like, generally super boring, and it's just never been. And then the parts at the end are very frustrating unless you win, and winning is super fun. I've only won like a couple tournaments, but I've gotten second or third in back when they had these free rolls, these like monthly free rolls on Stars, and third place was like $5,500. So I won $5,500 in a free roll, and I felt like a loser because I got bounced out in like second or third place, and I was like, I could have won like 10K or whatever it was, and it was so frustrating. But but at the same time, I was like, hey, I won 5,500 in a free roll. But yeah, like actually winning, getting first place is really exciting. There's a feel to the end of the tournament that's just, you don't really get that in cash games, right? It's a different kind of sort of adrenaline rush and excitement, and sort of, I don't know, I think elevated focus that you can go for that in cash games in terms of the focus, right? But in terms of the excitement, it's rarely there. I have one cash game example that felt like a tournament final table, but some people said it felt like a craps table, where there was one person who was just going all in, going all in. This was No Limit Hold'em 1-3, but somebody had, they were in for whatever they were in for, and they would just get it in blind. They would rip it in blind, and somebody actually asked them. They're like, "Oh, can you show one? I'll show one." And this person was already all in. They're like, "Sure," and they show a queen, and then the other person shows a queen, and they're like, "Show the other one," and then they do, and they have queen 3 offsuit, and then the other person shows they have ace queen offsuit, and they're belly aching about whether or not to call this all in, which I was like, what are you doing? Like, you have them super dominated. Like, what's this? I don't know. It's possible that they were just kind of playing the room because everybody was around watching. And if that were the case, like, I can kind of respect that, just in terms of like kind of building this excitement. But everyone's like, just call, just put it in. And then they did call. And the queen 3 hit a runner flush draw and won. The board ran out like 4 spades, and they had the 3 of spades, and they won. And they stacked the person, and they had like 1,600, and then they're like asking for racks, and they're about to leave, and I rebuy really quickly for like another 1,000, so I've got like 1,700, and they've got like 1,600 or whatever, and they're putting their chips in the rack, and the dealer just deals them in, and the next hand somebody raises to 18, they call, I call, I've like, what I have? I had like queen 8 suited or something, but I was like, yeah, let's go. And the flop came queen 9-8, and they just jammed for 1,600. And I snap called. I was just like, I'm so far ahead of this person's range because they're playing super wild. And so that was a $3,200 pot in 1-3 no limit, which was pretty fun. It was pretty fun, and they had stack matching in the game back then. And it was like, but like every hand was this like event at that table, where it was like, let's see what happens with the person who's just going all in blind or just going all in all the time. And it was very fun. But it wasn't a tournament, and tournaments are still, at the end, I think, more fun. All right, that's my tournament diatribe. Here, I've got top and bottom pair. Top and bottom pair on a straight board is not a very good hand. I think even in Hold'em, it's a little sketch, right? It's a little suspect. But I have no blockers to the straight, so I have no draw to the straight unless a 10 and a 7 comes. Then I guess I have a 10 high straight with my 9 and my 6. I have a backdoor flush draw. That's a weak one. And I'm blocking backdoor clubs. Like, that's basically everything I can tell you about my hand. Running 6s and running 9s and running aces are the only way I can make the nuts, I think. So I think this is quite a comfortable fold. Someone bet pot. Someone called already. Okay, peace. Now I'd have 3 pair and like could maybe bluff a club river. Like, no thanks. No thank you. 10, 10, 8, 6 with 10s and an 8 and a 6. I think this is just one of those hands that, like, we just fold here, and it looks a lot better than it is. If it folded to me, I would have raised. In fact, if the button raises first in, I believe we're supposed to fold this. I'm actually quite confident that that's what the charts at microstakes say. This would be an interesting flop, right? Let's kind of play along in our heads. I have 10-8, which is the second nut straight, which is, not the nut straight, but I have 10-10-8. So I'm double blocking king 10. So I can play this hand with a lot more confidence than I would if I just had regular 10-8 or, yeah. Which isn't to say I would necessarily be putting in raises, but, maybe check call 3 times if the board bricks out. Maybe. Or at least check call 2 times. Or at least check call 1 times. 1 times 1 is 1, yeah. 1 time 1 is, I don't know. Okay, so is this a new player? Or no, I think they posted $1.50, right? So I think that means that they had missed the blinds. So we probably already have some data on them. We've probably seen some stuff from them, but not open limping. I think they're like 60-17 or something. So that is a flop that's better for the pre-flop raiser. But they have chosen not to bet. They can check back some ace XX, which is pretty happy on the turn. I think a hand like kings, queens, whatever, tens is going to be fairly common there. Pretty reasonably played, I'd say. So far they're 100, 100. I'm not sure if those stats are going to hold, if those are accurate. Once again, let me know if there's any hands that you want me to review. Let's see how many I have in the queue. I think I got like 4 now. Yeah, there's 4 hands to review. 3 of them are post-flop spots. So I try to kind of calibrate it so that the session review will usually be around 20 minutes and the live session will be around 40 minutes. We're a little over 40 now, so I might wrap this up soon. Again, the game is just delightful, right? It's such a nice game. Of course, this 86/3, this person playing 86% of their hands and only raising 3 of them, it has been replaced now by a fresh new $100 stack. Someone sat down with a crisp 100 and said, deal me in. Although actually maybe they're going to wait. And, we've still got, it's still a great game, right? You can replace 2 of these players and it'll still be a great game. Nuts. The nuts are, well, it's not the nuts, but, the ace high flush. Straight flush was possible. Queen 10, 8, 7, I feel with the 8 high suit is not, it's not quite up to code. Session review time. What is going on here? Ace, King, 9, 4. I raised this. Let's just crack open the PLO matrix and take a look here. In the cutoff, do I raise this hand? I think so. I think so. I know so. Yes. With the ace high suit, we are going to RFI. So ace, King, 9, 4, single suit is RFI good suit and fold bad suit. Call 3-bet IP. Fold to 3, boop, which is out of position. So basically, if the button 3 bets this here, we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I was just kidding. Whereas if one of the blinds says, it's like, let's go, let's take a flop in position. That makes a lot of sense. Let's check out the hand. Right. Oh yeah, this one. All right. Let's see what some other PLO, what other poker minds have to say about this one. Ace, King, 9, 4. I flop bottom pair. I think this is a decent C bet. Heads up, multi-way, not so much. What should I be c-betting here multi-way? Like top set, like some rundowns with the queen and like double back doors maybe. Some rundowns that smash the 6-4, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, especially with some back doors. I think those sorts of things. Maybe like a set of 6s with like backdoor nut flush draw, like ace 6, 6, 5 with like ace high clubs. I think those are going to be my bets here. And top set, did I mention top set? I think single pair hands that don't, like ace, ace, king, king, probably mostly going to be checking here. And this hand, multi-way, I think we just check. And Yeah, so I turn the nut flush draw, and it's like, do I want to bet here? Well, there's so many straights. I mean, so many straights. There's two straights. There's 8-5 and 5-3. And my opponents are playing almost all of their hands. So they're going to fold some of those combos, but they're going to have a lot of them. And I have three opponents. And maybe the out of position players aren't going to have the straights that often. Maybe 5-3, but 8-5, maybe they lead out here. So I'm more worried about the one player behind me. But without any blockers to the straight, I decide to go ahead and check. And if there's a half pot bet or something, I would call it, but it's full pot. And I just folded. I'm like looking at this. I'm getting 2-1. There's only 3 more bets. Oh no, there's 4 more, right? That's a little better. Yeah, but even then, I can only bet like 3 times the bet size on the river, because that would be the pot limit. So best I'm getting like 4-1, and including implied, and it's just like I don't think I'm always getting called, and I think I'm just about always beat. It's not always a straight, but I'm not going to be able to play like if an ace or a king comes off. The fact that they potted it just makes me feel like, yeah, I think this is just a fold. So I went ahead and folded, and call me a nit, whatever. It's cool, nit life. Let's see. Family Jewel says study streams usually get about half the views, while No Delay seem to get more. Yeah. Middle of Wanda was great, then fizzled hard. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, study streams, I think just there's people who want to just hang out while you're gaming, right? And poker's a game, and it's cool and chill. Whereas a study is like more, that's like better YouTube content, I think. It's like, okay, I want to watch this video and see what's happening. And so I would do the morning stream and record it and then just export it to YouTube. And those would be YouTube videos. Or maybe I'd cut it up into individual hands. I don't know. But I think the live, no delay, definitely. There's much more, it's more fluid interaction. And occasionally I've streamed poker no delay. And it feels good in terms of the stream. But in terms of the, what's it called? In terms of the actual poker content, it feels a little awkward, I think. And I mean, like, you don't want to be streaming showing your whole cards all the time. Anyway, that's mostly what I mean. All right, next hand, Ace 996. Oh, this is an ISO, but it's like not an ISO. It's like a pot juicing. So let's take a look at how we're supposed to play this one. I'm going to look at cutoff button versus cutoff first. And I think that this is often going to be a 3-bet. Oh, I'm looking at double suited nines. Yeah, that's correct. No, this is a flat. This is just a flat. Ace 799 double suited is a 3-bet. So this is just a clear flat in that spot. We'll say button squeeze versus under the gun, which isn't really this either. This is also a flat. Yeah, so I'll say ace, so 9-9, ace 6 double suited is flat versus button versus cutoff, or versus low jack squeeze. 9-9, 7 ace double suited is 3-bet there. So that's fine. That's cool. We'll go on to this. So this is like near 3-betting hands, right? And so I'm happy that I kind of realized that, but that I flatted it. In this specific instance, I think ace 10-9-9 I would also flat, just because I think hands like this are going to play so well in these big multi-way pots. And while we do want to bring the aggression, I think in these types of games, having hands that can make the nuts and really get paid in these big multi-way pots is just where we win stacks. And really the goal is, in games like these, it's to win stacks. So let's try to win a stack. All right, I flop an overpair and the nut flush draw. So I have a lot of outs to the stone cold nuts on the turn. Now I could just try and like take this down. I've got a lot of equity, and let's take a look at the equity calculator in a minute. But for now, this is just like, this feels like such a good spot where I can flat, and then maybe some more people come in. Maybe they're drawing with weaker spades. If I bink a 9, we're going to have a pretty low SPR on the turn where maybe I can get it in. And I call and everybody else folds, which, whatever, that's fine. And I bink a 9, yay! And they pot it anyway. I'm like, okay, let's go. I don't see any merit to slow playing this. It's just like, yeah, if they fold like queens or whatever, they fold queens or whatever. But then they're folding all their equity. They're gonna have some diamond draws that I guess are they getting odds here? Not really, right? They're getting less than 3-1 here. No, more than 3-1, right? Let's see. There's going to be 99 in the middle. 1, 2. Yeah, they're getting about 3-1. That's right. I mean, it says it right here, but so yeah, they only need 25% equity, and they had this hand, which is, I get it on the turn, but like tens, I don't know. I think there's a little overzealous before the turn. I mean, it would have been hilarious if I had ace high diamonds as well, right? But let's take a look on the turn. Their equity, they've got 22.5, so just a little bit shy of what they needed. They're kind of running into a little, not a worst case scenario, actually. If I had diamonds, that would be much worse. But on the flop, also, like, we're really only about 50-50 on the flop. So I could steal their 50% equity on the flop, but I end up, winning a stack, and I'm pretty happy about it. I'm comfortable with how I played the hand, and yeah, we shall proceed with we've got another couple hands. Jack 10-8. This was another one that I think pre-flop and post-flop. This might be a little loose. I'm gonna check this out. So in MP, I think we probably just no. This is a raise. This is a raise and call 3-bet. Yeah. Okay. Even bad suit. So I don't know what I was thinking. So Jack 10-8 single suit is RFI from hijack. Let's see, is this from low jack as well? Do I raise jack? I mean, because it's got good connectivity. Yeah, from hijack and low jack. Good suit or bad suit. So having these jacks with a suit that has connectivity, it's a hand we can play, right? We can't play this rainbow in the low jack. Actually, MP, we might be able to even play this rainbow. I'm checking it out. We're looking rainbow. Yeah, so even rainbow, we can play this in the hijack. So I think I have gotten a little too conservative, too hesitant in a spot like this. I mean, I played the hand, and I didn't feel bad about playing the hand, but then I kind of second-guessed myself. So I flop top set, and check. So first of all, I don't flop top set. I flop middle set. What am I talking about? I'm blocking bottom set. I'm blocking top and bottom pair. I'm blocking my own boat outs, right, to the better full house. Whereas if a queen came, then like queen jack, queen 8, make bigger boats. So that's a negative. Having said that, I do have the 10 in my hand, and I like having the 10 in my hand, and for that reason, I decided to go ahead and bet. The other thing is that there are two opponents who I'm quite shallow with, right? The SPR here is just below 1, and here it's just above 1, and then one player I've got a 5-1 SPR. So if the 5-1 SPR wants to like really get it in, that's unpleasant. But aside from that possibility, like I'm happy to get it in with the other players, and if the $21 check raises, like I call it off. If this player calls, right? So let's go. There's why did it go all of them? Yeah. So the first player folds. The next player now has to think, okay, if I call here with some like king 10, like maybe king queen 10, whatever, something like that. There's this player behind them who can make it 1657, right? If they jam. 1650 would be double my bet. If I had bet 830, then they would have to make it 1660 to reopen the action. So I chose this bet size to make sure it was kind of like close to the largest bet size I could use, where then their check raise would reopen the action, which I want because it gives me options. Now with this exact hand, would I jam? Probably not. But they don't know that, right? So if they have some kind of a draw or some kind of a I'm not like begging for calls here with this hand, right? I've got a good made hand and I'm blocking a better made hand, but I really don't want them, like, I don't want them to mess with me, because this is a hand where I can get messed with. And this bet size makes it a little harder for them to mess with me. Now, granted, what we know about this player, like, they might not even be aware of the, like, rule here, where the raise has to be as big as the bet in order to reopen the action. But just from a sort of fundamental standpoint, I think making sure that they have that option, where I'm going to have that option if there's a check raise here, I think makes sense. So that's why I did that. And everybody folded and won the pot, but I think the bet size, I'm happy with the bet size. I'm happy with the bet because I have the 10 blocker. If I didn't have the 10 blocker, I don't know, I might check that sometimes. And here I just folded, but let's examine double suited nines in the hijack. This is in fact slightly too weak. So 9984 double suited is fold in hijack, period. But we'll say 9985 double suited is RFI. So that's like exactly what I thought, right? And we'll look at the cutoff, because I am in the cutoff, and I mean, I wonder how it's not even different, right? So same in cutoff, and then let's look at the button. The button, I imagine, has to be raising this combo, double suited nines, yes, and then we'll say almost all 99 double suited is RFI on the button. 4-2, 3-2 are only exceptions. I could have said only folds, but whatever. So basically, double suited nines on the button, just raise it up. Just raise it up. But this is just a little too weak in this spot. Whether I want to adjust and play my hijack range because there's a limper, or whether I want to play my normal cutoff range. Now, against certain types of players, maybe you could make an argument that I can play my double suited nines here, but I didn't, and this hand basically just plays out, and I guess that's it. So, yeah, all right. Thank you so much for watching. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more like it. I am contemplating changing the format. By the time you see this, I either will have changed the format or not. But regardless, have a great rest of your Sunday or whatever day on which you happen to be watching this. Cheers.